Well, let's start at
25
5,
maybe?
then 25, then 50.
It's one reason why I suggested maybe painting the curbs red and then maybe stenciling on their ambulance zone, because if we do have a special dispensation or a special fine for this area, let's make it visible. And I think you'll have a really good compliance.
What do you think, Carol?
I mean, just doing the math, so 88 inches is a normal size pickup truck, okay, but emergency vehicles are wider than 88 inches.
Yep.
You know, that we require more than 114 inches probably to get it through. My other concern is that when we're coming in a critical situation and we come over the top of that hill, people want to get out of the way, they have no place to go.
They have no place to go.
There's no place for them to pull off to the side to let vehicles through. 2 times in the last couple of months, we've had calls where there's been police escorts, and that's just one extra vehicle that gets bottlenecked up in there even. I think people panic when they see the red lights, and there is no place for them to go unless they can tuck into Caballero's parking lot or Bethune Street. They have no outlet.
Right.
So then we end up with a situation where you're literally stuck in traffic.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to do is, for a trial basis, there's 5 spots that we designated, that Jared and I went down. Let's try it for a couple of weeks and see what kind of movement.
Which five stages?
Be on the right-hand side, from near the Dancing Dog, down through near Kathy's store, and just before the Verizon.
You want to try what? Doing away with them?
No, just for 2 weeks and see what, like if we have a call, see if it's easier for the ambulance to get down through there
I mean, to do something like this.
with no parking on the right-hand side for like a couple of weeks or whatever.
Might I ask, what is going to be the criteria? You're going to look at our revenue, you're going to look at the businesses all the way down the street and see how much revenue they lost because of the parking? What is the criteria?
I mean, they ain't gonna lose revenue. That thing is, I'm just talking a couple weeks here. The thing is, unless you go with no trucks at all in both those areas, no trucks.
Yeah.
No trucks at all, compact cars, and they might have, but like I say.
Might I ask, how wide is an ambulance mirror to mirror? Do we know? Okay, because I looked it up online and they're about 90 inches.
It depends on the style.
I know Lee had me measure a couple of the fire trucks.
Yeah.
And our 2 large fire trucks are just under 109
Just under 109.
meters.
Okay, so if you had 2 fire trucks that were passing each other and 2 Dodge Rams parked on both sides of the street, you would still have room to clear the mirrors. That's all. I mean, it's just the way it
An
is.
inch or 2?
Yes.
I mean, it's not always
I think what the thing is, yes, maybe, yeah, they can get through there, but it's time, it's time for those cars to get out of the way, which they have a critical person in the ambulance and they need to get to the hospital. They're losing time when they get stopped. Right, Cheryl? Am I going out of the ballpark here or not?
We don't run lights and sirens unless it's critical.
Right.
I mean, so if we're going lights and sirens, then we really are doing it because we need people out of our way. And a minute or 2 can make the difference between survival or not.
And many people don't consider that until they have a family member in that situation.
I don't know if you can not use spaces for 2 weeks without changing local law. We use this other years, and I know we used this over 4th of July, and he said it worked. I think until we get to something like your sign, Roger, which to me makes sense, painting red and yellow, and getting the correct line down the middle. I mean, this works for me temporarily, but I like his diagram and what to do with it. I think if you start, I understand what everybody's saying. And if you had the box and you had the fine and you had the, this, give that back to Steve. Mark, he said it worked for 4th of July. and we enforced it. Whatever we do, we have to end up enforcing. And the problem I see is you start taking away, you know, on going down on the left-hand side, you would lose the least amount of spaces, but you're still losing 9 spaces. And to me,
No, there's 5.
that's, no, all from the distillery down, I believe there's 9.
I'm talking about not on his side, I'm talking about on the right side, going down.
Right, no, but I'm saying on the left side, if you decided to take away parking, somebody said the other night at the meeting, take it from the left because you already have an area on this side that says no parking from here to corner. But either way, I'm not a fan of taking away parking spaces.
I'm not either, I'm just trying to solve the problem here,
Yes,
you know?
but
Okay.
Right, but I'm saying, let's work together. If you start taking away spaces, which is how this all started, you're gonna have a problem with everybody, every business person in the village who is going to say, when are you going to come to me to try to take away my spaces? And I understand it, every parking space has a $ sign on it. But I think we do realistically need to do, I mean, and Roger, you put some time and energy into this. I think we do need to get the center line where it belongs, and we do need to do everything in red. And is that something, we don't need to do a local law to paint things, do we, Molly?
If you're changing anything on a state road, it's gotta be
But all we're doing is painting lines.
correct, but anything on a state road has to be to their grade. That's what Jaren said. I mean, we have to go through them. We can't go in and do,
So we have to call and say, can we paint these lines?
Yeah.
So in the interim, you know, Chris said they had put those up, and didn't we have those up all?
these were up last summer.
So, and they were,
But can I just say something? Because I didn't realize it till, because I wasn't at the meeting. So really the issue here apparently is not that there's clearance between the vehicles, because there obviously is clearance between the vehicles. If I understand it correctly, it's that there's no place for the vehicle that's ahead of the ambulance to pull over out of the way. Would that be what you were saying?
Well, either ahead of the ambulance or heading out of town, even, they can't pull over to make.
Right, right. I mean, that's a completely separate issue, that if that yeah, I mean, we're not trying to put a dollar value on the safety, that isn't it, you know. But I will tell you that any inference that this will not affect business is absolutely incorrect. That is
Somewhere the other way.
absurd. Parking is our lifeblood. But with respect to the lifeblood, we definitely want to make sure that we're not doing something that harms the process. But make no mistake, this will be an absolute hit, whatever business is on that street.
I'd like to see what we can do,
wait, Ron.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking, if you call DOT and explain to them that the request for making these boxes is to help a ambulance route, I understand you need to ask, but there's the regular bureaucracy and there's the expedited bureaucracy. And something like this, I can't imagine they would have a problem with, and they would get right back to you and say that it's okay, because there's big vehicles parked incorrectly down there creates a huge problem. And these boxes would go a long way towards solving that, and without hurting anybody. And then try that for a couple of weeks and see how it works.
I would also like to say that it's not just the ambulance, like, if there was ever a fire downtown and there was cars on the way and we had to stage fire trucks there, moving cars would just be more time that we would have to take and more damage to a business, if anything ever did happen. And that'd be a big hit. There's a lot of stuff packed down there.
There's a bad thing about the village of Alexandria Bay is small streets. Today's world, bigger vehicles, bigger fire trucks. Yes, I did it 33 years, and it's horrible getting through some of these areas in our streets. We'll have to work, see what we can do without hurting the businesses, but yet we need to make sure that emergency services are also a priority, right? I would,
I was gonna say, I agree with Bubba in the regard that we could certainly on our side add to this sign, no pickup trucks. I actually made it as a pickup truck, but I mean, we could definitely put a car on there and have no, the problem is some of these SUVs are big too, you know, that's why we tried to make a box, you know, like.
You got a
everybody in a
Suburban,
box. I know,
right?
Yeah.
Roger, a Suburban, you
Yeah.
got Suburban, two or
Yeah.
three Suburbans down there.
I know, but.
They're huge.
Wagoneers, I mean.
And Escalades and all them,
I
they're
know.
big vehicles.
That's
and-
why I tried to do the box on the side,
Yeah.
that would keep everything inside.
Yeah,
But there's
like-
no way that we can make it so that with parking on both sides, no matter the size of the box, that someone's also gonna be able to pull over, you know what I mean? I don't see that side of it, you know?
Whatever we decide to do, whether it's that or attempt to, you know, call DOT and see if we can do this, you can't enforce any parking violations without changing the law. So, how long does it take to change the law, minimally? 45 days?
Probably.
So by the time we got done, summer would be over. But I think it might be in our best interest to put those up. Because when we had them up the other years, I remember back in 20, we had them up and they worked. I wasn't here 21, but 20, they worked. And, you know, they worked over 4th of July, but he said they were on both sides of the street. So, you know, maybe we do that. And then we work with the DOT to make this happen so that by the time next summer rolls around, we're painted red and yellow and we have the right sign and we can enforce a $100 parking fine, because right now you can't.
No.
right,
So,
so is it your motion to at least use
does
this
this,
type of sign?
for right now, Roger,
Yeah.
well, and, you know, anybody that's on that, both sides
Have
of
you
the
seen
street-
this, Cheryl?
Yeah, I showed you.
Does this work for now, and then we work with the DOT to get to this point, which will probably be ready to go for April of next year? But at least we're addressing a situation, and if we can, you know, paint anything now and they say yes, then we can start changing the local law to do this with a $100 fine, but at least we can start with those.
And we're not at all object to the issue of maybe we leave a car out so that we don't paint the box there, so it would be a place for people that could turn in to move out of the way of an ambulance either coming up or down by not having the box there. I mean, that's
Oh,
a
there-
separate
there's-
issue.
They'll fill it no matter what.
Well, not if it was boxed out with the big X on it. Yeah, well, an X would be, maybe they wouldn't pull in too, but.
You got somebody who parks in that no parking spot every day out by.
But I don't understand why someone doesn't give them a ticket. That's part of the issue.
I don't know.
But there's also gonna be more than one
And
car
I've
on the
spoken
street.
to the police officer about that, and
Right.
that will be addressed.
Okay,
So you have a motion to.
I
Let
would,
me see the sign.
do we put those on both sides of the street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I would make a motion to put those now on both sides of the street. And we then also, you know, if
Good.
I can call DOT with Jarrett, Molly?
Carrots, that's
Can
it.
I handle this, or?
Oh,
because
go
it's-
for it.
I mean, let me talk to Jared, I'm the one starting this thing.
Yep.
I like to be involved with this.
Okay,
Okay.
And the thing is, with this, it says pickup trucks, RVs, trailers. I would like to put, oversized, SUVs. I don't see.
We could actually paint the white line, 88 inches,
I
I
mean,
think
the
is the
thing
number.
is,
We
no-
could paint that, and you could word that however you want, and it should say, stay inside the box and fold in mirrors, it'd say.
But like I say, it doesn't say oversized,
No.
which.
Well, it's not oversized, so we paint the line so they can see it be oversized, that's what I was saying. is
Well,
like-
no, but, I mean, like, even if we gotta put down Suburbans down here,
Yeah.
I mean.
I mean, you could just say, large SUVs.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So just add to that,
Add to
large
this.
SUVs.
Right.
Okay, the only thing I have to say of this, final thing on this though, when I said 88 inches wide, which gives us 114 inches in the center, if I fold in my mirrors on my Dodge and put it against the curb, how about 72 inches wide? You could put 2 fire trucks and a Volkswagen Bug down through the center. So I don't know how much we should be thinking about what the vehicle is versus the space the vehicle takes up. That's
Let's
all
just
I'm
go
saying.
with this.
I think that
Can I
box
Right
is
now.
the key.
Go ahead.
It don't
Can I
take
ask a
that long,
question?
you just gotta run one line
Right.
to connect
Yeah.
at the 88-inch mark.
But given that the center line is still screwed up, so people are still gonna be,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Wasn't
yeah.
all compact
But I mean, we could definitely put no
Yeah.
full-size pickup trucks on there and probably
Compact cars.
take 90% of them out of the way anyway.
Right, that's what
But
I'm
I think
saying.
we're, yeah.
I mean, even if you fold the mirrors in, you still got a big vehicle parked there.
But they gotta be closer to the curb
Right,
too,
but
not
I'm
2
just
feet
saying,
out.
right? I mean, I just.
That's where the box
I just-
comes
Well, I absolutely agree, but if you look at the first picture, you've got full-size vehicles on both sides of the road. The police car 20 inches outside is the lane, and the vehicles still pass each other. Well, I think we're way overthinking this.
Yes,
You
we
know,
are.
if you start, okay, so what's the other company version of a Suburban? We're gonna start listing, I think this is fine. No pickup trucks,
Okay.
RVs, trailers at this meter.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The last time you did this, when we did it a couple of years ago, maybe,
Last year.
it was all compact cars you had.
Right,
Yep.
It was limited to all compact cars through that whole area.
yeah.
Is that what it said? I don't
Yeah.
remember what
It
it
was
said.
all
Yes,
compact
you-
cars,
I don't-
and that
You're-
works
you're
great.
right. You're right, Molly, it's all
Yeah,
compact
yeah,
cars.
it works
Okay.
great.
Well, I wonder if we
No-
should do
no-
that on one side and then leave for trucks on the other, because there's deliveries being made. This is a real business town. There's things that happen.
Well, they have signs out there at certain areas where it says delivery trucks only.
Yeah, the delivery.
Well,
Yeah,
we're not worried about,
I know that, well, it was brought up about.
we're getting off here.
No, he brought.
She's gonna make the motion to use
Those,
well,
this sign on both sides.
and then, Bubba will talk to DOT with Jarrett and get permission to get the correct line down the center, and get permission to do this, and for next year, we work towards this. And we have to change our local law.
Can we, we were talking about compact cars. I'll go along with that as long as we put only compact cars in there.
Is that on both sides of the street or one side?
I'd say both sides. That would help
I
with
know
the
you
zero a
say,
little bit.
because you don't have a penny invested in this.
No,
That's why
I
you
got,
say that.
listen, I live here in the village, I pay taxes here. I mean,
Listen,
I'm
listen.
trying to help out here
Sure
too.
you do.
There's just an issue we've been trying to solve for
It
years.
is a non-issue.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
And that's why
Stay calm.
two trucks can pass each other. The driver can't tell there's one.
So you're saying we only need to
So-
go on one
so-
side?
Jared
It might
texted
help
me
for
today
deliveries and things like
that,
that, you know, yeah.
Jared texted me that DOT supervisor, Bob Thompson, he's gonna talk to a guy named Chris. He was not aware of the situation. He's looking into remedy the situation as soon as possible. I don't think we need, I think we're overdoing it, but like you say, this worked last year with SUVs, and I think it worked. Bubba can be contact with Jarrett and the DOT.
Yeah.
And that motion was made by trustee Fulmer.
Okay, I'm sorry, what was the motion? Is it to put it as that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Second by trustee Strong. Any more on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Opposed?
Aye.
That's right, you can't vote for absent, but you can listen. Okay,
Oh, okay.
thank
And
you,
that-
sorry.
Just so that board and everyone knows, that cannot be enforced by a police officer. So
Right.
if somebody parks there, you can't do anything about it.
It can't be enforced, but
Until we can get local laws.
until we can get it.
Yes, just so it's stated.
So once we get more information on this, then at August meeting, we can,
Bring it up with the information
Yeah, 'cause you're
from,
still gonna have to change your parking, I don't know, and I'm not sure how that's
Yeah.
not, that would be Attorney
we'll
Burrow.
get more
Right,
information on this part so we
Yeah.
can do it in August and
Yeah.
get the lines painted.
Yes,
so we can be all ready for this next April. We have plenty
we
of
can
time.
do it before, yeah, whenever
We could do it,
the
I
village
mean, we
needs to
still
do
got
it, we
time,
can start
I
the
mean-
process now.
yep.
Yep,
You're
So do
still-
we have to have a public hearing?
you still have
We'll find
business.
out from,
yep, you'd have to have a public
So we could do
hearing.
it,
yep,
we'll put them out now and work towards getting an answer on this, and then work towards in August, setting a public hearing and making it happen.
mhm.
And-
We all good? Will that work?
Yeah, I was gonna say that if it would help, if we believe in the box concept, we could paint the box. We could
The
get
white
a
could be
sprayer.
painted.
The white, just the white, because I understand that villages are allowed to control their own parking spaces on state roads.
I think, I personally believe it'd be better to have DPW
Sure.
paint
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
once we get approval to do the boxes, I agree, that gives people some, all right. when I
Anybody
park-
got any extra white, you got extra white paint at the town, because we're back ordered again.
Well, we're gonna go red.
Well, no, you got a box, we'll look at it. Okay, so we're set on number one,
Okay.
Thank you.
all set?
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, number two is the youth golf passes. So, in the spring, we had talked about with the town doing youth passes for village, resident youth and town resident youth. But we never
There was
made a
no
motion
motion.
or put it into the budget.
Correct.
So, we did move golfers, what is that, 11 and under for free?
Mhm.
And then, what was the other
Then
rate?
there's student passes for $70 a year for up to 17 years old.
So, we have some that are saying, you really messed it up, but then again, we did, I don't know, if the town actually passed it,
I
or
could've
or
sworn.
will money?
There's not,
I
we
feel like
looked
I
through,
brought up the motion to do it.
we looked through everything. I mean, I have looked and looked, I can go back into the minutes, but usually motions we don't miss. You know what I mean? Motions are always in there. I apologize if I missed it, I'm not sure. But we have sold a lot of passes at this time at $70. So the question is now, do we take that $700-800 back to change it for a month and a half, because school, you know what I mean, when school starts? And that, I'm not sure what the village does, and I don't know if the town ever made a decision to give passes this year.
The town was planning on, we usually bill us on it.
Well, yes, well, the town usually does so many,
Right.
and we don't do so many, and yes, and we just send you the
Yeah.
information.
So we were expecting to be billed.
Yeah.
for like
And
the next
unfortunately,
month.
with Shooky wasn't here to be on top of me and us, I missed it. So, I apologize to everyone, I'm just not sure what the board wants to do now, because we do have, I've had 2 people in asking if their kids are gonna get to play free tennis, or pickleball, or golf. And at this point, with Hearts for Youth, giving free programs, I'm just not sure what anyone wants to do. It's your decision. I'll do whatever you want me to do, I just don't know where to go from here.
The town was expecting to be billed, so there's not gonna be a problem in that part. I realize, in a way, when you talk about your budget, you've got income from some young people
Mhm.
that you really hadn't planned on. It wasn't there a year ago.
Correct.
And nobody likes to have to go backwards, but in a way, if you did refund and give passes to them, it'd be the same as last year.
I mean, that's the thing though, is we also only buy a set number of them.
It was a
Usually
maximum
like
20, I
10.
think, wasn't it?
It's
20?
10 for the village,
10,
10 out of 10.
10.
10
I
and
mean,
10.
and there's a lot more than 10 probably bought passes, so I mean, how do you pick and choose who gets?
How can you ever come up with a number 10? I just wondered. how-
Shooky,
Just what
that's
it,
when he
what it
started
had
back
been.
then, that's what he said.
Maybe
What it was each year is just.
Well, it's good, yeah, maybe there wasn't enough demand back then even
Yeah.
to do 10. Because I agree, it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, first in the door, and, number 11, you get a no. Because it would be nice to promote that, I think that was the idea, to promote kids to do that instead of staying inside and playing video games.
We just have to get on it before the middle of the summer, because it was last year the same thing. It was July and we were refunding people because we didn't, and I'm not saying I'm not at fault, I'm just saying that we were refunding people the same exact situation last year,
So the same thing happened last year? Wow.
so that's something that needs to get looked at a little harder in the spring with what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it, so the passes are there in the office before, you know what I mean, when we open up for the season, then there's no confusion.
So you refunded,
Last year we refunded about 6 people, 2 or 3 we couldn't get a hold of, and 2 or 3 said they're not gonna change it now,
What do
they
you have?
played that much.
how many have you sold already this year?
She told me they sold about $700 worth of
How many people?
passes, that's $70 a youth.
If they're all from the town, there's no cost to the village, it's like that.
Which they have a sheet, they have a list. It's just last year I couldn't find a couple, but when we did, they heard the mother said, they'll play.
I know it makes more work for the office, but I think we should refund it. And I think that this is something that both the town and the village have to vote on next year in March, ahead of time, instead of, later. We do it in our first board meeting in March, and you do it at yours, which is the week later.
Yeah,
And
we set ours like in November, October, November. 'Cause
Right,
the
yeah,
calendar
because
shows
there's their
it.
budget. Right, so we have to do it early.
There's never been any, if anything, the issue would be, should it be increased? I've never
Right.
heard any conversation about decreasing. it.
Decrease,
If
correct.
anything, the argument would be the increase of it, yeah.
So it's your motion to?
My motion is to refund it to the, what is it, 11 people, something like that.
Whatever's on the, there.
And we don't do this again next year. We make sure, the board makes sure we do this in March. So, that's my motion.
Motion by trustee Palmer to do the refund.
I'll second it.
Second by trustee DeRico.
Same thing.
Any more? Good. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we'll do the refund. Number 3 is, Dear Clerk Breer, please accept this letter as my official notification of retirement from the Village of Alexandria Bay as a dock attendant effective July 30th, 2022. My experience with the village has been rewarding. Appreciate the time spent working here. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to serve your community. I wish you and the department continued success. Sincerely, Craig Bentley.
You don't have to have my motion, just so you have to acknowledge it.
Just to acknowledge it, and then he's retiring from his other job.
He would like to consider coming back after his retirement.
Yeah, he called me, I just got out of work at 2
Yeah.
o'clock, see, nothing.
He said he tried to call you.
Right,
So he
But
would
he
like,
didn't say
after that, he would
anything
like to
was
come
going on.
back. He would like to come back, but when you retire, you have to be off so many
At
days.
least today.
okay.
Yeah.
Not just too much, because he had a lot of doubles and stuff.
Where do you work? Riverview?
Riverview.
Okay. So we'll acknowledge it, please. I have one more thing, is Mr. Williams is building a house on the end of Avery. His property line is 65 feet from the last sewer manhole, okay? The village code states that, if you're within 100 feet, you must hook up to village sewer. The place where he built it though is 200 and, how many?
It's probably 250 from where your
250
65 is.
from that,
Yeah.
property line, okay.
This might clarify things just a little bit. Now, Steve, where you guys measured was from here to here, and, the house is,
No, it's
got myself backwards here, sorry about that. Was from, here, just about the end of the shadows is where the manhole is.
The manhole's like right in here,
Yeah, and so this
and
point,
from here to here is 65.
yeah, and this is all bedrock in here.
Yep.
So if I've got enough room, it's kind of questionable. I'd like to run up here and go around this way to the house.
Yep.
I've gotta run, that's where the pole is for the electrical. And the water line is right about in front of Jay's driveway here,
Yep,
where they marked it. And I've gotta go up there. And then on top of that, it'd be doing this and the sewer up here. I'm not 100% sure I've got enough room up here, which is one of the problems. And the other thing, I'm not sure that I wanna tear up the village streets and be responsible for, rebuilding them. And what I was wondering is, and I know it would ask for a variance or something, I just wondered if you folks would have an objection for me to put a septic field on this area, you know, far from anywhere, instead of having to go around there.
so from here to here, down to here, it's about 250 feet.
Yeah, it's.
And that's for septic,
Yes,
Well,
So that'd be the hook into the sewer line.
took in the sewer, okay.
yeah, the electrical guy said it was 245 from the pole, follow up there in that same sort of path. So I figured it's somewhere another 5 feet to the road, so it's roughly 250 plus your 265, so I'd have, probably three ten.
three and change.
Yeah, to hook on.
Okay, I have a question. Have we been to planning and zoning?
Pardon me?
Have you been to planning and zoning?
Well, we went to planning and zoning as far as, getting it okay to build there. But this is something that's,
This is something that just came up, he
Yeah.
asked, and.
Right, but
it's like,
do we vote on that, or does that have to go back to planning?
This, I'm sure it's gonna have to go back to planning, with the code and everything. He asked, I said, yeah, we can at least look at it, so that the board knows exactly what it's going on, and then,
Can you show me where the house is going?
yeah,
This was just a little too far away.
I'm sorry. Okay, the house, if you take a ride down the road there, you'll see the house is here,
Mm-hmm,
and there's a garage here.
okay.
And the big problem is, this is all,
Bedrock.
yeah, bedrock from here to here. In this area, we're not 100% sure how deep we can go.
Okay.
But, we need to run the electrical, obviously, up there. And
This is your driveway?
This is actually a turnaround there.
Okay,
That
that's
belongs
there.
to my brother. And, what we're using for the driveway is here, where looks like a road going up there.
Up that way, and then you come out this way? The street? How will you get out to the street?
I drive down the driveway and drive
Go
down.
out that way.
It'd happen every Avenue.
Yes, okay.
And anyways, we're over here, and,
So instead of hooking up to sewer, you wanna put your own septic field there?
yep. And, part of the problem is, I'd be responsible for tearing up your village streets, and, you know, my brother's owned this property for 30 years, and I don't anticipate any other houses down there in the near future. It's kind of like,
and actually by code, it says they're responsible to the sewer main, even though it's 65 feet of street that would have to be torn up. I don't know how that can equate that every time this happens, the resident is gonna be tearing up the street, which
Well, you can't have the residents.
I don't
do it.
agree with,
The village would have to do it.
but, there's,
I mean.
the
do we let
verbiage in
people
there
do it?
is open, so I think it'd be, yeah, I think it's better that we're gonna need, information from planning and zoning on this, really, to,
And probably have to get a letter about too, won't we?
yes,
The lawyer's gonna get involved in this
so,
too.
I mean, you don't wanna make it an undue hardship for him.
no,
Yeah, but I think.
We can work with.
and it's getting close to moving
Yeah.
in time, almost, but.
well, I'm, again, it's all my fault for not, planning things better. But, the house is gonna be ready for occupancy, before the 1st of September.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to have
Yeah,
water
we're
and
gonna have to
sewage.
start, yeah.
Yeah. And,
I,
and it may not be enough time to.
The planning meeting would be next week, third, wait a minute,
What is it, the third one?
is it the third week, third Thursday of the month or something like that?
Well, this week is the third Thursday.
Oh, that would be this Thursday, sorry.
It'll be more than.
Guess what, I'm trying.
Do they have one scheduled for next week?
I'm not sure. Lee will be here tomorrow, we can find out all this.
We can talk with Lee tomorrow.
Okay.
That's okay?
Get you.
Hey, it's gotta be.
I mean,
Whatever you guys
we have to
decide.
figure out how we can do it. You don't want them to not have septic, and
Right.
the best way, we just have to go through. I don't know that that's a decision we can make.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
But at least I wanted the board to be informed of his situations
Right.
that we all know what he's, you know,
Going through.
he's spending money to put more taxes in the village with a new house, and we welcome every new parcel. Yes, sir.
Well, you know, talk to Lee tomorrow and see how quickly we can get in front of planning.
okay,
And, you know, I'm not against whatever he needs to do to make it work, as long as planning is okay with it.
okay. Well, thank you, folks.
I'm just asking Critter when the last time somebody built a house inside the village. Says it was his house.
17 years ago.
Well, this is exciting.
You know,
We should have a
what about the
groundbreaking.
house
We should
on-
have
on,
cut a ribbon.
The house near you, out in front of you, when was that built?
Oh, the green one, Harry Jennings, 2012.
One across right on the corner of, Walton and Powell Street.
Oh, yeah.
That's just been built.
Oh, yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
built, that was built
Yeah,
after
where
Critter.
O'Brien used to
Parking
be.
up top.
Yeah,
I think Harry was like 2005, I wanna say, I don't know.
there was a house there already, you just tore it.
Yeah, but he tore it down and
Yeah.
put up a new house.
Right.
But
Well, where O'Brien used to be, that's all new build.
that's a new building too.
Yes.
Yep,
Just, from the earlier, I mean, in an ideal world, it'd be great to be able to pull off and get out of people's way. And, like say down at Cap Thompson's, if they've got a and we've had over the years, a number of times, the ambulance had to come down to get somebody and take them to the hospital. And again, like you said, the village has a lot of streets that aren't real wide, and get up and down that end of James Street, there's no place for people to pull off there either. It's a situation we've had to live with for years. And so, an ideal situation, I mean, you'd have to eliminate all the parking in front of the homestead.
Everything.
Well, basically from Riley's all the way to Church Street,
Yeah,
which, you know, then you'd be able to pull over and get out of the way, but it's not an ideal situation, but it's tough, you know, like she said, you know, when you're.
For
family
4 months,
members-
it's
when
a
your family
nightmare
members
for-
in that ambulance, you want to get there just as fast as you can.
for 4 months, it's an absolute nightmare, and then the rest of the year, we can fire off a cannon every hour.
But I think those
Yeah.
boxes go a long way towards fixing that.
We all got in late, we got, diagram. Rob, you got another
Here, you can have
diagram?
mine.
Okay,
Right.
anything else? I think we covered what we had to. At hand, this,
Right,
Critter, right?
Visiting.
okay,
Motion.
I'll make a motion, we, close this, special meeting.
Second by Trustee Ballmer, all in favor?
Aye.
Diane,
okay.
Now,
3:46. I'll give you a call, Cindy.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think,